Welcome everyone to Town of Bowling Green Council meeting for Thursday, December 1st. And we do have a quorum. Mrs. Gaines is not here tonight. If I can I'm bringing to order. If I can get everybody to stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. Okay, first thing on the agenda, we have a public hearing application for sewer connection to Hill Mobile Home Park at 14226 Elm Drive, or Elwood Drive. Do we have anything from staff would like to say
Mr.
on
Mayor,
this?
and council, the applicant has asked to defer this until January because they were unable to be here tonight.
All right. So we'll defer that action.
So is there a motion to defer the application to the January meeting at the request of the applicant?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we
All right, Mr. Worley.
delay the application for the sewer connection of Hill Mobile Home Park until the January meeting.
I'll second.
Request of the applicant.
Got a second by Mr. Voigt. All in any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Hearing none, it passes 100%. Moving on. Delegations, we have none. Oh, and before we get started with the public comments, I do want to point out that we have a Councilman-elect Daniel Webb sitting in the audience tonight. I'd just like to point it out, please. And also add on to your agenda that we will have a closed session meeting tonight. So just let everybody be aware of that. All right, moving on to public comments. Do we have anybody who would like to come up and speak? That'd be you.
On? Can you see me? And I'm standing. Really, I am. But Mr. Mayor, Honorable Town Council, for everyone in here, in case you hadn't heard, obviously I suffered the Widowmaker heart attack back in May, and I've been blessed to still be here. But I wanted to come forward and thank each and every one of you since I came here as a trooper back in 1979, November, and talking to our young man in the fire department, EMS. He's only 34, so with that being said, it means a lot to me for all your support. I wish everyone the best. To let you know, the end of this month, I'm turning it over to Major Scott Moser. So if you wish to reach out to the board members, I've already done all the research. This should avoid a special election unless the board chooses to have one. So Scott can be the sheriff until the end of my term, which would be December of 2023. With that being said, there will be the general election in November. That saves all of us money. And I would urge you all again to support Scott as you supported me. Mr. Mayor, thank you. I've, like I said, known a lot of you since I came here. So God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate your service. Thanks for coming in.
I'll push the button. I want to thank you all again. I know on the 15th, we're supposed to have the event here with the town's approval. I know the county and the sheriff's office. So eat, drink, and be merry. Merry Christmas to all. Safe and happy New Year. Thank you.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Okay, anybody else like to speak before council? Second call, anybody? This is public comment. Yes, ma'am. Come on up, Bonnie. This is where you shine.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to stand here before you once again tonight. And I have a couple things I'd like to mention. You know, I have asked the last 2 times that I stood here about the taxes, and I have since received my tax bill from the town, and I was very disappointed the fact that I had mentioned to y'all about equalizing the tax rate, and I see it wasn't done. And I think it should have been to help the residents. You could have at least dropped the $30 charge for vehicles. That would have helped some. And also, I would like an answer from staff, Allison, staff, somebody, how you came up with those figures on the tax bill. Because mine had the figure that minus is off to the right. I forget what you call it. I had my bill in the car and I left it laying on my dash. 2 of my vehicles was the very same amount, and as far as I'm concerned, I think that's something wrong with that picture, and I would like mine looked at again. The more expensive vehicle should have had more write-off. And mine had the same thing. My husband's truck is nothing but a cheap truck, and somebody gave me the same write-off on my 4Runner as they did on his cheap truck, and that's not right in my book. They were the very same amount, and I don't understand why. Also, I know y'all gonna discuss taxes tonight, going something to the 20th of December or something. Yeah, that's fine, but that's still not the answer to my questions. But I appreciate what you do. That does help people, but it'd been nice too if it had been after the first of the year after the holiday. That would have been very nice, especially for taxpayers, instead of right 1 week before Christmas, the 20th, before the 25th. And also, I'm going to bring up the trash again. I read the agenda online, and Jeff, I see you have something about the trash tonight, because I did read it. And I had a question in there about only being 375 people that's listed in that contract in the town that get trash pickup. I just have that question. I wish I could speak when y'all are talking about the topic, because questions come in my mind when you're on it. And when I have to stand up here now and say it, I forget my questions, because sometimes I have really good questions and thoughts, but I cannot speak when you're discussing the topic. And that would be nice if I could. Anyway, I still would like to be something done with the trash, and I still would like to be opted out, because I still feel like I'm grandfathered. Thank you guys very much, and I hope y'all have a nice holiday.
No problem. And Bonnie, just a reminder, the office is open from 9 to 5 days a week. And also cards are in there for each council person if you want to call them and talk to them. Okay, so any issues you have on your taxes, just bring it up to the girls in the office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Second call. Seeing none here, none closed. Public comments. Open up to member comments. Any members have any things that they've done in the past or experience they want to talk about?
I just have a question. Last town council meeting, the park survey was supposed to go in with the utility bills and it didn't. What happened, and is it going in with the next one?
I think it was an oversight, and it is going in with the next one.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes. And for Mr. Jess. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. Bonnie here. Oh. Bonnie's behind you. Sorry. Couldn't see her. Yeah. Hi, Bonnie. So the time to have done that equalization would have been when we did the budget. We can't exactly revisit that after. Okay, all right. Just you did. Just line everything up. So say it to us again, next June and all. I wouldn't mind maybe taking a look at that vehicle license tax, though. And yes, I'll repeat what the mayor said. You can always talk to us right after the meeting if you remember something. I got to be honest, there's things that I sometimes forget in the meeting and wish I'd said during as well. That's why I appreciate this particular moment. But yeah, anytime. Call us anytime. Wait after the meeting. Yeah, we're available. Okay, and let me also thank the sheriff, who looks like he dipped out. But hopefully some of us can make it to see him and them in a couple weeks here at the hall. I don't want to steal the thunder too much from what I'm sure you'll speak to, but I do want to say that I did enjoy, going and getting the tree. That was a whole lot of fun. Blessed to be a part of that, both myself and Arthur and the mayor and Jeff Seeley and Mickey Tingler and everybody that was involved in getting that tree up. We were out late, giant, wonderful, beautiful tree. We had Bill Webb helping us with the excavator and everything. Yeah, good time. I'll stop there and let Mark go to that. I'll speak to that a little bit more in a moment. And I just, other things, going on, did have some, been talking with the other council members a lot lately, been enjoying those comments. Probably have some stuff to say later about that as well. Since it is the last meeting of the year, I do want to, offer the welcome to, the new folks. Dan, hello. Feel free to sit next to me if you like at the next meeting. And David, who's not here with us yet, but we'll be seeing him soon. The Christmas parade, a little over a week and a half. Everybody come on out. We got the open house here on the 10th, and we got the parade after. And then just lastly, you've been talking to a few of the council members, and I wanted to ask staff what the appropriate way to address having the meetings in the Rappahannock room again. Not everybody is necessarily in agreement about it, but there definitely are several that want to have that conversation. It keeps happening, off the record. So I wanted to actually bring it to attention to have a real discussion about it. And that concludes everything about me.
We can have it there, whatever council chooses.
Anybody else? All right. I'm sorry, you got something, Valerie? No. Okay. We do have, the county is having their annual Christmas, their holiday luncheon. What is the date on that? I don't have it in my calendar. I forgot to write it down. The 7th. Okay,
It's
December
a-
7th.
It's an employee lunch.
Right, employees luncheon. We are invited. You can come whenever you want, okay? It doesn't matter if you come in the first shift, second shift, it doesn't matter. The only reason they broke it up into shifts so that they always have coverage of their workforce out there. So, but, we're welcome to join it at any time we like. Also, I am having a staff luncheon here on Wednesday the 14th for all of staff to have a holiday luncheon and to show their appreciation for their hard work through the year. The Christmas tree, like Jeff said, it was really a wonderful night. A lot of people from the town came together to help out, chipped in money-wise. So, this year we couldn't get the tree free because he was out of them. So we had to go to Belmont Farms, the group did. So it's a really beautiful tree. Other than that, I think that's all I have to say. Anybody else before we move on?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for reaching out to the owner of the furniture store that day in my store. He had a lock on it the next day, so we're good. Thank you.
All right, moving on to staff reports. Public Works and Utilities monthly report. Anybody have anything for Josh? Questions?
I might have a
Josh?
quick one.
All right.
We've had a few events here in the building, since we last discussed about the door over there, and we've had several rain events since then. Has there been any issues with the door lately that you're aware of?
No, as far as I'm aware, there's not been any water pooling. Our cleanup staff hasn't said anything.
Okay, I was
noticed
just
anything.
I was
so,
curious.
Yeah.
I did talk with Sean about that, and we're looking into possibly getting a strip put on it to cover the middle over. And so far, that's about it. But we are looking at doing that. And also, it needs to be caulked on the sides as well, because you can see light on the outer hinges as well. So give a Sean about that. But I mean, him and I looked at it last week, or I think it was. Okay.
The only thing I have is leaf collection ends at the end of the month, so I just encourage everyone, if you have leaves in your yard, if you get them to the curb, we'll come and get them within town limits, so get them in before the end of the month and we'll come and get them, just a reminder.
I got two things real quick. I'll go one on that topic. It was brought to me by some citizens that are not in the town, but are on our utility system, that if council could potentially look at providing that same leaf service to them, they would be interested in that. They do pay for the water and or sewer, but I didn't know if that was something that had been discussed in the past. I just wanted to bring it up.
So the leaf collection is with tax money, not the water and sewer money. That's why it's just town right now. So just so everybody's aware, that's
Right,
where the
but
money.
we could establish a fee for that,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
could utilize it. We'd have to pass an ordinance, but that's something that we could do.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
I think the reason why it came up is some people were trying to burn them, and there's some
Yeah, they burn.
like repercussions of that, smoke in the area or fires that get out of control. So they were just curious that if the town was doing it for their citizens, if they did extend it just to the areas that we provide the public utilities to. But that's something at a later date. The other question, I just want to check on the jet trailer. You said it would be here by the end of October. Did we get that yet, or is it still delayed?
It's still back order because of the supply chain. Everything's
Yeah, everything is. That's fine.
Josh, I have some for you. You know where I live? On Anderson Avenue.
yeah. Yes, sir.
We got that strip of land at town, it's our easement for the sewer through there.
Yes, I do.
When we had that storm this summer, a big tree come down and it's hanging on by threads. When that thing breaks down, who's responsible for that? It's on the town's property, but what I'm getting at, and I know it's my property and I don't know if anything can be done about it, but when that tree breaks off that stump that's about 10 feet in the ground yet, it's going to take out my shed and my fence.
We'll have someone come and look at it.
Yeah,
and,
if you would.
yeah,
I don't know what can be done about it, but I don't know how you're going to get it, how I would do it or how anybody would do it unless something was strapped to it to hold it so when it's cut off, it doesn't wipe out everything.
Yeah, we'll have to reach out to professional landscaping company to take a look. But
All right, thank
I'll
you.
look at it.
But the tree is on town property? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look at it. We've been since I've been here, we've been working on clearing not just that right of way, but all of our right of ways to make sure that they stay clear and not just accessible to us, but make sure the trees are
Yeah, and I know you guys come through there and you bush hogged it this spring earlier, and then right after that is when we had that major storm, and I kept keeping bringing it up, and I kept forgetting, but I noticed it's starting to go down a little bit more, but where you bush hogged right there at the edge of Anderson Avenue, when you first go in there, that big poplar tree that's right there, part of that broke off and it fell down into your path as well.
Okay.
So, it's something that's good. if you're going to try getting through there to keep that clear, you're going to have to deal with that before you get back there any farther too, so.
Yeah, we'll have to chop that up. It's just with money and
Understand.
getting people
Understand,
in.
yeah.
Thank you, Josh. All right, moving on to the police department. Anybody have anything, or the chief have anything to share? All right. Moving on to town treasurer. Do you have anything you want to share there, Jackie? Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, Jackie. Town manager?
We'll start the budget discussions at the January 2023 Town Council work session. The swearing in of the new Town Council will be January 5th at 6:30, right before the meeting starts. And if we want to move the meetings to the Rappahannock room, then I would just need council to tell me.
They're fine.
I'm in favor of it.
So one thing that will need to take place tonight is
we set the annual meeting schedule at the first meeting in January, which is the organizational meeting. And so technically, there needs to be a vote
Is that,
So the overage fees are supposed to be distributed. I can't tell you that they have been distributed.
No, they are. It's 175 if a dumpster is over on a commercial dumpster, and we pass it on to the commercial customer on their utility bill.
okay.
So we do recoup the overage fees.
I got it. I'm sorry, I missed some of that, but you said the overage on a commercial dumpster. We have a commercial dumpster that is for town citizens though, so who would that go to? Just curious, because I'm one of the residents that
Yeah.
dumps in that, I don't have a can, I have a commercial dumpster. So in the event that that had an overage fee, what would happen? Would I get billed?
Commercial, I mean like the businesses on Main Street.
That's correct.
You're talking about the same kind?
Yeah, we have a trash truck that comes like a big, and it's different, it's waste management. I don't have a can. Yeah, it picks it up once a week. But if that had an overage fee, would I get charged with that specifically just to me?
I'd have to look that one up.
It's on South Main Street, just so you got reference. I don't know how many more are in the town, but that is one occasion that citizens use a commercial dumpster and do not have cans. I missed half of it, but Yeah, I would be upset to get charged because I put like a bag in a week.
Right.
And there's a multiple apartment that would place a lot more trash in it than me.
So my reason for asking part of this is there's a dumpster here in town that's utilized by other people and not the person who owns the dumpster. It periodically, more often than not, because of the events they have, there's more trash going in his dumpster, and he's paying for the overage on the dumpster. When it's not because of his trash, it's somebody else has put his trash in there. So I thought the town was getting charged the $175 for the overage fee.
Vice Mayor Coyle, we'll bring you the bill, and then we'll bring you the information on how it was distributed.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay?
Thank you.
I
Yes.
can tell you, Valerie, from the Painted Horse, that I was charged the overage, just so you know, because there was, yeah.
There is a way, you can have Waste Management put a lock on it or get a locking dumpster to help try to prevent that, in which it stays locked at all times unless you go to use it, you unlock it. And then when they dump it, it's got a lever on it, and it allows them to dump it. When it comes back down, it's supposed to lock back over. But you can request a locking dumpster if you have a continued problem with it.
I'll just pull the information for the past several months, and we'll send it to town council. And if you need to discuss it further at the next meeting, then we'll have it available.
All right, anybody else on item 7? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to accept item number 7, bills as it is? I hear no motion. All right, moving on. The bills aren't accepted. Y'all can bring it up with the treasurer if you have any questions. Unfinished business, we don't have any informational items. I knew I would remember what it was. Come January, Valerie will no longer be vice mayor. She runs for 2 years. So y'all need to be thinking about who you want to have as vice mayor for the remaining 2 years of my tenure. Okay, and we'll do that in the January 5th meeting. New business, request of change of limited access line at East Broadus and AP Hill. Allison, you got something on that? And the recipient is also here, or the applicant is here. If we have any questions, he said he'd be willing to answer questions.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, there was information in your packets. The applicant has a new resolution that should be on your desks, and he is here to discuss the issue with you tonight.
And I think just, Mr. Webb, you can correct me. He has gotten VDOT to agree to sell him a portion of that land. They will only sell it if the limited access lane is moved. I prepared a resolution, and then the revised one that you have was revised by VDOT.
Mr. Webb?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm here representing Fairmont Commercial LLC. I don't know what you had in your packet, but I did prepare, I dropped off an additional package, and all this is information that we've received from VDOT. But, you know, the LLC purchased some lots there on East Broadus Avenue. And once we purchased those lots, we were able to petition VDOT to see if they wanted to sell the excess right-of-way that they have down at the intersection of East Broadus and 301. They went through and did an analysis and determined that they did want to sell, and it's about 2.5 acres of land that they would like to sell. Part of what they would like
Yep, part of what they would like to do, or what they are requesting, is that the limited access line that now runs along the existing right-of-way be moved out to the perimeter of the blue line that's on this aerial sketch. Okay. Yeah, they did also provide a set of VDOT plans that has a red line, although the two don't appear to me to exactly coordinate with one another.
But VDOT indicated that they wanted a resolution supporting the request to move the limited access line.
It is. Yeah, I provided the guidance that they provided me. It said a limited control change process, and I did highlight on this sheet, this is just one of the items that VDOT wanted was a resolution from the locality. And also provided all of the supporting emails that went back and forth. But essentially what we're doing is taking the, VDOT is going to request that the Commonwealth Transportation Board relocate the limited access line from where the right-of-way is now out further towards the pavement, and then that limited access line will be out there now. And that will allow us to have access from our property to the new property that we purchased. It seems very redundant. I would just assume that when we bought it, that line would move, but VDOT being VDOT in the state, it's just a little more complicated. So this is a very new process for me, but Ms. Lechner, who is dealing with this at VDOT, she just asked that I get some sort of, resolution. We drafted one, then we sent it to VDOT, and then they redrafted, and the resolution that you're looking at that we passed out tonight is something that VDOT drafted.
Mr. Mayor,
You go ahead.
make a motion to table item number 8, request to change limited access for East Broadus and AP Hill till January, so council can have time to review this.
I second that.
All right, discussions. Well, I have a motion on the floor to table this matter, and from Arthur, and a second by Valerie. Discussion on this? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose? And we got 4. Do I do? Yeah, you're right, I do. Arthur?
Aye.
Randy? No. Deborah?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
All right, we got 5 ayes and 1 nay. So we'll table it till January.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, or, if you have any questions for VDOT Lechner, you see the contact information in the email string, but.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, moving on to item. I don't know. You beats me too.
Your mic's off, Randy.
Sorry. I mean, if anybody wanted to buy this, I agree. If VDOT's trying to get this and they're trying to sell it, well, there's nothing there.
Well, when I called for discussions, that was your time to bring all that up and discuss it then. Right now it's too late. It's, we've already passed it to go till
That's
next
fine.
month.
We'll go next month.
All right, sorry about that. Number 9, purpose and process of special called meetings. That is your attorney.
Is it working? Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you this evening about meetings. And some of you I have known for a long time, some of you less long. And so just by way of opening, I'd like to share that my role as the town attorney is to represent the council. That means I don't take sides with any one person or faction. I share information equally. I have no power at all. I do try to offer suggestions if they are sought to be helpful. And part of what I'm going to be sharing with you this evening is legal information, but part is also things that I would call things I've learned and seen the hard way over 30 years of working in local government law. So, except for the black letter of the law, you certainly have discretion about how you want to conduct your meetings, but I am including in this presentation what I would call best practices recommendations in the best interest of the town. So just take that with a grain of salt. All right, you have this at your seat, and the first page says it has the cartoon. I know we didn't accomplish anything, but that's what meetings are for. And unfortunately, that is a lot of times what happens. And I've talked with many, many elected officials over the years who feel that the meetings are completely unproductive, nothing ever gets done. And so it is really important to put a focus on meetings to try to have effective meetings. The next slide, requirements for legally valid votes. The Virginia Freedom of Information Act says that in order for any action that you take to be valid, adopting the budget, whatever, it must be at a meeting that is called in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as well as state law, because otherwise any action is considered void, and we certainly don't want that. The next slide has section 15.2.14.15, and that again says that the governing body can only act at a properly called meeting where a quorum of the membership is present. So just wanted to give you some of those basics. And then the next slide talks about regular meetings. And so in the Code of Virginia, they have an organizational framework. And as we just talked about, it's not updated in this provision because recently the General Assembly passed legislation that forced all towns to go to a November election cycle. And this statute still talks about July as being an organizational meeting. Well, all of them now are in January because people's terms will end December 31st. So it's required that that the town council have an organizational meeting, and that at that organizational meeting, the schedule of meetings in terms of the time and date and place be set for the upcoming year. Now, there is the ability to have a special meeting. And I've included that. That's 15.2.14.17. And state law does have some flexibility. I distinguish between a special meeting and an emergency meeting. I find that there's no definition of emergency under the law, but if we're going to call it an emergency meeting, it needs to be some kind of a situation that we could articulate. A tree fell on Town Hall and we need to meet to address that, or something like that. A special meeting is a little bit different than an emergency meeting. And for your amusement, and I don't know why I thought about the mayor when I inserted this
cartoon about meeting overload. It's a doctor talking to a patient. He says, "Your heart won't tolerate any more town hall meetings." And right here, see it? And I see elected officials who are so excited in the beginning, and then they just get worn down by meetings where they don't feel like anything is getting done, where they don't feel like they're being heard, where they feel like the council doesn't look good to the public. And it does wear people down, which is why I think the topic of meetings, as boring as that may sound, I think is really important to contemplate and to make them effective. So there's two components of the law for calling a special meeting. One is the state law, and the other is the charter. And I've included both of these here for you. And then I've kind of broken it down. So the first slide says mechanics of special meeting clerk's duties. So the first step is for the clerk to receive a written request. And that request either comes from the mayor or from 2 members of council. If it comes from 2 members of council, the request for the meeting needs to identify the same things that would be discussed. Because the way that the law looks at it is, if we have to have a special meeting to discuss trash service because our trash service provider has stopped picking up trash, then there should be sort of a consensus that this is the purpose for which we need to have a special meeting. It wouldn't be like a list that one person has of things to discuss or that another person has for things to discuss. It is intended under the law to be kind of a targeted way of having a meeting, because the monthly meeting is really where you have more of your general items and everything else. So either 2 members of council or the mayor, they write the clerk and say, "Hey, I'd like to have a special meeting. I want to talk about trash service because it's the company has stopped picking up trash." Then what the clerk does is she polls everybody, including me and the town manager, to find a date that is good, date and time that's good for everyone. If there is an emergency circumstance, like we had with COVID, there were times when it was only possible to call an emergency meeting and you could only get a quorum. That's okay in an emergency if you absolutely have to meet to do something. For a special meeting that is not urgent or an emergency, I think that it's fair that the clerk makes sure that the mayor and every member of council has the opportunity to come to that meeting. And one of my principles that I adhere to is fairness. Everybody should feel that they are being treated fairly in terms of the information that they get and the opportunity to attend and participate meetings. So I think that that's very important. It doesn't say that in the law, that just says that the clerk has to contact, but Arthur.
Yeah, I had a question. Do you want me to ask now as
Sure.
it pertains to this, or
Yeah.
wait till the end? Okay. So on 15.2-1418 and then the town charter, reading in those two, does the 15.2-1418 or the town charter, is this all the literature on it, or does it go further into depth? Because nowhere in either one of these two documents does it say specific that if I say I want to meet on trash and then Randy says he wants to meet on lights in the town, that the meeting still can't go on. It doesn't say that we both have to be on the same page of what we want to
You're
be
right.
on.
It does not say that.
Okay.
And I am saying this based on 100 years of practice. Because the purpose, now, if both of you wrote and said, I want to talk about trash and lights, and I want to talk about trash and lights, that would be fine. But the idea is you need two people that want to talk about the same topic.
Or you just need two people that want to call a special meeting per this code section in the town charter, correct?
For the same purpose. Let me break that down.
Okay.
So if you write to the clerk and you say, I want to have a special meeting to talk about snow removal, okay? And then I'll pick on your neighbor next door here. If Randy writes the clerk and says, well, I want to have a special meeting to talk about trash and the fact that the trash company has just vaporized and they're not coming. That's not a request from two members for a special meeting. What you guys can do is get together and say, we think we have two urgent things. And so you would write and say, I want to talk about trash and snow removal. And then Randy would write and say, I want to talk about trash and snow removal.
But then if, say, Deborah came in and said, hey, I want to talk about snow removal, would that constitute as a second council member on the same topic?
Yes.
Okay.
But then you wouldn't have a second person on your topic unless, do you know what I mean?
Correct. But the special meeting would be called due to two council members having the same topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, to put it in kind of a different context, it's like the law looks at meetings as your 3 meals a day. That's when you're supposed to eat, not supposed to snack. Although I think snacking is now favored, but it's just, and part of the reason for that is the Freedom of Information Act talks a lot about how the purpose is to allow citizens the opportunity to have access to and to observe the operations of government. And so if there's a series of special meetings, maybe one's at 10 o'clock in the morning, one's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's Tuesday, Thursday, it's Monday, Wednesday. That's very hard for the public to plan and engage meaningfully on a regular basis. Not my opinion, I'm just telling you that's how the law looks at it. And so, so a special meeting really should be an extraordinary occurrence, if you will. The resignation of the town manager, something like that. And I'll come back to talking about some of the other stuff, but for now, let me just go on. So I think these might be a little bit out of order. So the clerk gets the written notice either from the mayor or from the two people. The clerk coordinates a date, time, and place. And then usually I work with the clerk and I prepare a notice. And the notice says, the mayor of the town of Bowling Green has called a special meeting for Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock for the purpose of discussion of, I don't know, what do you want to talk about? Fishing. For the purpose of talking about the hiring of a new town manager. And so we'll just use that. And so that's literally what's going to be on the paper. You're going to state the purpose of it. And then when you come to the special, and if it was two people, it would say, Arthur and Randy requested a special meeting for the purpose of discussing the hiring of a new town manager. Same thing, just the names would change. When you get to the meeting, then you are limited to the topics that were identified in the notice, unless you have everyone there and there's a unanimous consent to then modify the agenda. So again, you see they have all these kind of barriers to making a special meeting a free-for-all, if you will. And that's how the legislature envisioned it. Okay. So then that notice is supposed to be delivered to every member of council and the mayor and the town attorney unless there's a request by the elected official to receive the notice electronically, or unless at the special meeting a waiver is signed by everybody saying, I didn't get the notice, but I'm here and I waive getting the notice. So again, very kind of complicated, a little bit complicated, step by step. Once that notice has been issued to the members of the council, then it has to be posted on the website, it has to be posted here at Town Hall, and it has to be posted in such other place as notices are generally posted. I don't know if you have like a bulletin board or something. It would then have to be posted there. Okay, here's another kind of little bit of a tricky thing. So an emergency meeting can be called with less than 3 business days notice. But the rule of thumb that I use is it really needs to be something that you can articulate that necessitated having less than 3 business days notice. And to those of you sitting here, you may think, oh, 3 days, 2 days. I mean, nobody ever comes. What difference does it make, right? I'm representing another client right now in General District Court on a FOIA violation case. And one of the issues in that case is insufficient notice. There were 2 days notice instead of 3. And the person who filed the complaint was at the meeting that he's complaining that he didn't get notice of, okay? And he got notice emailed to him. And the judge still thinks it's a violation. So my point is, all of this like really detailed nitpicky stuff is really important to the court. And so that's why when I harp on it, I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time or to give the clerk a headache. I'm just really trying to dot the I's and cross the T's. Because for a FOIA violation, individually, it could be $500 to $2,000 out of your own pockets. And that's for a first violation. And so like in this case where I'm involved, there are several FOIA violations that are alleged. And so given that the court has pretty much said, you know, FOIA was violated, it'll be interesting to see, we have a hearing on December 8th, whether the court says, all right, you've got 3 violations, and so the potential fine for a second or subsequent violation is higher. In addition to that, for violations of FOIA, there can be the costs and attorney's fees of the person bringing the suit that are ordered to be recovered. And the judge in this case has indicated that he is going to order that. So it's really nitpicky. It's not fun, but I'm coming from a place of wanting to protect you. All right, so 3 business days. If the town hall is closed or it's a holiday, that doesn't count as a business day. Weekends don't count as a business day. So, and I gave an example. So if you post a notice on a Friday of a special meeting, Friday is counted as day 1, Monday is counted as day 2, Tuesday is counted as day 3. The soonest you can have a meeting is on a Wednesday because the meeting cannot occur on day 3. And there's an entity called the Virginia Freedom of Information Advisory Council, and they write opinions. People write and they have questions, and they have several opinions on this topic about how you go about counting the days. So just, you know, so that you have some idea of how that comes into play when the meeting is scheduled. All right, and then I have this cute little, I thought it was cute little graphic with this big pasta on the forks that says, I want to apologize for this meeting on such short notice. Aha. All right. There's that. FOIA notice. Okay, and then whether it's a regular meeting or a special meeting. And the notice requirements that we just talked about apply to both special and regular and continued meetings. The agenda materials, all of the agenda materials, unless there is an exemption that applies, must be made available to the public at the same time that they're distributed to the members of council. And I think the staff here does a really good job because they post it on the website. So it is immediately available to everyone. Not everybody does that. But that is another requirement of FOIA. So I want to talk a little bit about the parts of a meeting. And I have a slide in here for you. One is deciding what goes on the agenda. That's kind of part one. Part two is agenda preparation and distribution. And it should be that the agenda is what's followed at the meeting, and there should be background information for you to come to the meeting educated about the topic, ready to engage in discussion and make a decision. And then the agenda is put out and it's reviewed by the council members, and then the preparation phase occurs. Things like corrections to the minutes, questions about the bills, things like that. I ask that you consider addressing those things ahead of time. Almost every clerk I've ever worked with is embarrassed when corrections are given to minutes at the meeting. And it's usually somebody who really works really hard, and it is generally appreciated. And then that way, you know, a black line or revised set of the minutes can be either distributed or placed at your place. I think sometimes on the part of elected officials, they feel like it represents to the public that people know that they're doing their job and that they're doing a good job. Part of what I want to encourage is to find other ways to do that, other more effective ways. Same thing about bills. A lot of times when you get to meetings, there are different people who have different questions about little things on the agenda. And sometimes it's just something that that one person is asking about. If it's something that's a big enough item for everybody to know about it, then it ought to go on as an agenda item. So just some thoughts on that. The meeting itself. All right, so I have a great story for you. I represented the town of Colonial Beach for many years, and they have a reputation as having somewhat uproarious council meetings. And they had one particular election where a lot of new members were elected, and I did a training for them. And I thought, okay, they don't know what it's supposed to look like. And so I did this whole training, I explained all the stuff, and then I played a clip of the Henrico Board of Supervisors meeting, okay, which if you've ever watched their meetings, they are kind of the most serene, uneventful, just, I mean, the Queen could come to one of their meetings. It's just very well done. Everybody's prepared. They speak cordially to everyone. It's something. So I showed them this clip from Henrico, and they all went, "That doesn't look like any fun. We don't want to do it that way." So I encourage you to think about, how do you want your meetings to come across? And now there's tons of them on the internet, where you can watch. I think that sometimes not everybody realizes how it looks from the other side, either from the public side or from the staff side. And I keep harping on staff because I increasingly see staff members getting criticized, crucified, treated poorly by the public and by elected officials. Not you all, I'm just saying this is just my general soapbox. And I think it's really unfortunate. And I think it's something that needs to be talked about. If there's an issue with a staff member, it definitely should be addressed, but it should be addressed in a respectful way. And I have never seen an instance where when something was addressed publicly, it made anything any better. So the meetings, ideally, in my opinion, should be focused. What goes on at the meeting should be limited to what's on the paper. Now, yes, you can do an addition, but when you do an addition, if you need to do an addition, there should be the backup paperwork, because this is another game that I have seen played, and that is, it's like the gotcha game. Okay, well, I know that other council members aren't going to like it if I propose that we, plant trees in front of town hall. And so rather than give everybody notice about it, I'm just going to jam it onto the agenda at the last minute. And I'm not going to give them any information ahead of time. I'm going to have all that information for myself. It just doesn't build trust between council members. It leads to discord. And I would encourage you all, and I think that pretty much this has been the case, to disagree respectfully. I mean, the reason there are a bunch of people on council is because people have different views. And so even when you really don't maybe want to share something because you know it or suspect it may not receive a warm reception, it's still the right thing to do, and it should be the way that everyone treats everyone. So if you're going to add something to an agenda, if it is really pressing, fine, but please have the backup information so that people have some information. I would recommend, and I don't feel that this is an issue here, but talk only when there's something that really needs to be said. I've seen board meetings or council meetings where one member just talks and talks and talks and talks, and it just kind of wears everybody out and slows down the progress of the meeting. And then I've included, respect and courtesy, and I meant towards one another. You're all intelligent, respected members of the community, and just because you don't see something the same way doesn't mean you can't be kind to one another. So those are my opinions. Those are my recommendations. It's not legal advice. It's just what I have seen that went well and what didn't go well. Because when you don't have an agenda, when people don't know what's going on, the governing body will sometimes fragment into little factions, and it becomes Team A against Team B. And you just don't like them because of something that happened in the past. And it's just not productive at all. I have another little cartoon in here for you that says, "This meeting will be endless with a half-hour break for lunch." And I think everybody's been in a meeting where they felt that way, that they were never going to get out alive. And that's what you want to avoid for yourselves as well as the public. So another one with the little birds in the bath, where the one bird is saying, "Excuse me, we're trying to hold a meeting here," and they're all going in all these different directions. The agenda is what is supposed to provide structure to the meetings. The agenda should key into your goals and priorities in terms of what you want to get accomplished as a council. And they are a tool, but they're not the only tool. And again, I'm not suggesting that people not share full information with everyone, but for example, if I'm going to pick on you, Arthur, because I think you'll let me. If Arthur had contacted someone, Allison, ahead of time and said, you know, how many people are there that live out of town that get water? How feasible would it be to collect money for leaf collection from them? You know, how does that work with our staffing levels? That kind of thing. That maybe doesn't need to be discussed by council, because sometimes what I see happen, and I don't know about the leaf collection, but sometimes there'll be a 45-minute discussion about something that's just not humanly possible, or there's some practical reason, you know, why it couldn't occur. Our leaf machine is on its last leg, the last thing. I have in here the shiny object syndrome. You'd really much rather talk about something else that's going on. I have a couple of other cartoons in here. It appears that this evening we're not going to, I don't know, accomplish anything. The light's bad here. But this is a reality, and this is what we want to avoid. This is why we want to work together as a well-oiled machine, as opposed to just kind of spitballing ideas.
bills.
Mm-hmm.
Per the town charter and the state code, then the special meeting should go and they should both of those items should be on the agenda.
I do not think that meets what the law says. And the idea is,
Okay.
right or not, that the mayor, the important mayor, he as a sovereign individual can call a meeting. But the mere mortals of council members, there have to be two of you that articulate the same purpose. Now, again, you could, if you, let's say you, unbeknownst, you call the clerk and you go, I want to have a meeting about trash service. And she goes,
it's really weird. I just got a request from Randy and he wants to talk about blah, blah, blah. So you guys can get together and cheat and submit the same topics. But it's not customary that there's a lot of topics on a special meeting. If there are that many topics that need to be discussed, you need a second meeting in the month. Truly. That's the way to do that.
Okay.
And my concern, let me just say one more thing, Arthur. I would play it fast and loose because the worst thing that can happen is you have a meeting, you take an action, and somebody sues, and the court goes, yeah, that meeting wasn't properly called. That's not a valid action. And so it's much better to really be detailed and more conservative going forward. That's, why I'm saying what I'm saying. There is a big downside to sometimes playing it fast and loose.
And then I guess the last question, so that we don't, I just know that since I've been on council, I've been part of a special meeting that did not specify the mayor specifically or any member of the town council on that special meeting.
I have been made aware of that.
So is that the correct method, or would it be, it would have to say the mayor of the town called the special meeting for this reason on this date and time place, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we get that so it's all correctly moving forward?
This is like step one of it, and to make everybody, to get everybody on the same page, and then, the clerk will know that if and when she gets a request from someone that, she'll reach out to me. I'll help her with the notice and to make sure that everything gets posted in the right place. And again, I just want to say, like, in terms of this notice piece, this case that I have, the guy came to the meeting, and one of the failures was that it wasn't posted on the front door. Who's at the meeting?
So would it be beneficial if council work together to establish special meeting guidelines? Because we obviously all know that we're all not going to be on this council for the next 20 years. So if that came about for the town, say the clerk changed, there's a guideline for a special meeting that is set in place moving forward so that it doesn't run into any of these concerns moving forward. Would that be a solution to this?
I don't think you could do that. I don't think you really need it. What you need is a town attorney, and you just need to have the general knowledge that it's either the mayor or two members of council, and you have to specify the reason, and then we take the ball from there to really make sure that it's done correctly.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions?
Before you move on to personnel policy, I'd like to take a 10-minute break. So get up and get the camera up when everybody needs to use facilities. So we'll be back in about 8:25. Yes. Great.
Test.
Yeah, I got you.
Now, if I can sit here, I can see a lot better here.
Just make sure you turn your mic on when you talk, that's all. All right, everybody back? All right. Council is now back in session. Thank you all for being so patient. Item number 10, personnel policy amendments. There again, Andrea, the attorney, will be the presenter.
I understand from talking with the town manager that there was discussion about the nepotism provision in our personnel policy manual. And so I looked at that and put together some suggested alternate language. But while I was doing that, I just noticed some other things. This is by no means a comprehensive redo of the personnel policy manual, just things that I would recommend that you approve these changes tonight, just because, I mean, like, for example, we've got Reese Peck as the town manager. On page 1, I just am deleting the language, nothing contained in this manual shall alter that status. It's just not language that's necessary. On page 2, and I only gave you the pages of the personnel policy manual where I'm recommending changes. So there are pages that skip. On page 2, 1.8, it just says that the personnel manual will be maintained on the town's website. I think we've kind of all moved away from paper. There will be an official copy in the office of the town manager, but also on the town's website. Oh, typo, okay. I'll fix that. So again, that's just kind of updating that. The nepotism part, what I did with that is I made it consistent with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and I also put a little bit of other verbiage in there to recognize the kind of the different day and age that we live in, where, you know, people may not always be married, they may live together, so you can have nepotism issues in circumstances other than just family members. But this does comply with state law in terms of the Conflict of Interest Act. Moving on to page 29. I did do renumbering to try to fix things. I deleted everything in paragraphs B and C. I don't think that it's necessary, and I didn't feel comfortable. I don't think it belongs in our personnel policy manual. I think all we need to say about political activities is that people are entitled to do what they want. It can interfere with your job, and you cannot be required to give money to somebody's campaign as part of your job. The rest of it, we don't really need to say. On page 30, completion of probationary period, I took out the word satisfactory, and I just kind of reworded it to say following the 6-month evaluation review, an employee may move from probationary to regular status and be eligible. This really reflects what the law is, that it's preferable to have a little bit of flexibility. Sometimes you might have somebody that gets hired and they have cancer and they're out. You don't really have a chance to observe their work. So it gives a little bit of flexibility there, that 6 months is not the automatic end. And then I kind of continued that theme in section 7.6. So that section says an employee's probationary employment may be extended at the discretion of the department director and with the approval of the town manager. There's stuff in here about an employee being absent during the probationary period. I feel that that's too restrictive. There may be reasons for that absence, which would conflict with you know, the Americans with Disabilities Act or some other state or federal law, so I took that out. And then I did say, I took out the word voluntary. So if there's a change in the position classification of any employee, then there's a new 6-month probationary period. And that is standard language almost everywhere. On page 32, I added Juneteenth. I didn't know if you wanted to do that, but most places have. That's up to you. I just, while I was looking at that, I thought I would include it. Page 35. I took out language that says we'll help people quit smoking if we have money. We can do that. It doesn't need to be in the personnel policy manual. Personal use of equipment by town personnel may be permitted by the town manager with full compensation for the use of such equipment coming from the employee to the town. Oh, no, 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 no. That's a very bad idea. So I recommend taking that out. Page 36, clarifying that there's no expectation of privacy with respect to computers, desks, town-issued cell phones, or any other equipment that belongs to the town. That is stated in here. I just felt like I wanted to amplify it. Personal use of town equipment is not allowed. And then I modified the telephone section to kind of, I mean, it says like, oh, you can't use the town phone for personal calls. Well, clearly that's from another day and age. So I just kind of updated that. Page 40, under personal information, any problems incurred by the town's use of out-of-date information are not the responsibility of the town. Just didn't feel like that really contributed anything to that paragraph, so I recommend taking that out. Page 41, I really just tweaked the language. The big change that I did put in number 6 is not accepting gifts, period. And the reason for that is the Conflicts of Interest Act has very detailed requirements for the dollar amount of gifts that can be accepted, under what circumstances, the paperwork and tracking that needs to occur with it. I think that it is just much easier to have a policy of no gifts because it's not worth it. Page 43, again, this is in the personnel policy now, but I amplified it by specifically stating that we do not have a progressive discipline policy. That means that you don't have to be warned and then disciplined and then put on leave without pay and so on and so forth. It means that if you come to work and you do something really, really awful, we can go from 0 to termination if the circumstances warrant that. Page 44. Performance evaluations, that is not something that council is allowed to see. So I just clarified that. Page 74. I just cleaned up some of the language and some of the legalism. Again, included that the town of Bowling Green does not use progressive discipline. I took out on page 75 disciplinary demotion because I don't think that makes any sense. I mean, if somebody is not doing a good job, why would demoting them be that just doesn't make any sense. So I took that out. I updated the definition of grievance. It's pretty similar to what we had there now, but it's more exactly in line with the state code. Same thing on page 82 in terms of things that cannot be grieved. That all just really tracks state law. And so it's an update. There's one other piece of paper at your place that was handed out tonight, and it says page 4. Numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8. I recommend that you consider adding these to the personnel policy manual. 5 through 8 would specifically delineate in greater detail what the authority of the town manager is with respect to staff and personnel matters and things like that. So I think it would be good to be a little bit more detailed. Thank you.
All right, anybody have any questions for Andrea over what she just went over?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just need to flip back.
Okay.
I put a star.
I can't hear you.
Page 26 on I highlighted, I guess, subsection C, but I don't know.
The one that's been deleted?
Yeah, that's been deleted there. So we're replacing that literature with yours up top, correct?
Yes, sir. If you're comfortable with it. I mean, it's just a suggestion.
Okay, that's fine. I guess my question is we had it in there that if they became related there, if a resolution is not possible, the town manager may require one or both of the employees to transfer or resign. So we remove that. What are we kind of replacing that portion with? Just up top, the tail end of that. We're grouping it all together. There's 4 bullet points with this one now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine.
I also kind of left it a little bit more flexible or vague, however you want to look at it, because I'm not sure that because 2 people get married, you can make one of them quit.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll give y'all a couple minutes.
Randy, I'm glad I'm not alone. I can't either.
Oh, we got lights in here. Turn them up. All right, does anybody care to make a motion on this?
I just have a couple.
Okay.
Page 30,
Mm-hmm.
completion of probationary period. I just have a challenge with the 5%. If a person is here for 6 months, they go through probation, they get a 5% increase, and then at the end of a year, when they have their performance evaluation, then they get, what, another 2% merit increase? That's almost 7% in less than a year. I just think that's hefty.
The 5% is what's in there now.
Yeah, I know. I have an
Okay.
issue with that.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Okay.
So that, I'm just saying, it doesn't mean anything, but that's my.
I mean, you can take that out.
I got a question. Could we change the literature to say that the employee would be subject to a 6-month merit increase and leave it up to the town manager to make that decision?
Mhm.
Instead of setting a set number, could we just change it to say
Mhm.
Up to a 6-month evaluation with a merit increase set at the town manager's approval? I'm just throwing an idea.
No, it sounds good.
Yeah, but what are you going to cap it off at? Then you just leave an open check for the town manager.
After the 6 months, we give a 2% merit increase, and at the end of the year, no more than a total of 5 for the total year. that caps it off at 5% for the whole year.
That's
Now, it could be less.
Too much for me, so.
Well, I mean, and you can make it 4, you can make it, 2% at the end of 6 months, or 1%, or, they're pat on the back, you're doing a good job, keep it up, you get 5, 10%, whatever, at the end of the year.
So how about following the 6-month evaluation review, an employee may move from probationary to regular status and be eligible for a pay increase as recommended by the town manager within budgeted amounts and in conformity with the pay scale.
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Works for me.
Anybody else? Did you have another one, Valerie?
Yeah, on
Okay.
page 31, the extension period, how long would the extension period be? Is that an additional 6 months, or is that the discretion? of
It's at the discretion.
Okay.
I mean, generally speaking, it would be a maximum of 18 months,
Okay.
I think. I mean,
Yep, that's it.
I had some things, but I've turned them in to staff. Just findings in here. No.
nothing
Oh,
substantive.
okay.
Correct.
Okay,
All right.
yeah.
So, what's y'all's pleasure on this?
I make a motion, we pass what she put down here.
All right, can we, do you want to read it with the changes that you added to it?
There's just this
The-
one.
The motion, yeah, whatever changes you have from what you have written here on that
So
motion.
the motion is to approve the personnel changes as presented to include the non-substantive recommendations of Mr. Hooley and the one change to page 30, section 7.5 to state, following the 6-month evaluation review, an employee may move from probationary to regular status and be eligible for a pay increase as recommended by the town manager within budgeted amounts and in conformity with the pay scale.
Okay, we got a first by, all
I'll make that motion.
right, and we got a second by. No seconds on it? All right. End of discussion, motion doesn't carry. Proceeding on to item 11. Due to the bills getting out a couple of days or so late, Caroline County had an issue with theirs going out late. Theirs was due to the third-party biller having problems. And they adopted a late, to extend the pay period to December 20th. So I was thinking it was only fair that we offered our constituents also because we were late getting our bills out. So I want to know what if somebody wants to make a motion to adopt December 20th or whatever you want to.
I'll make the motion to adopt as presented here.
Okay, I got a first by Jeff, second by Arthur. Any discussion, please? Go ahead.
I just want to add that I don't think that there would be any legal challenge to this, but this would normally have to be done by an ordinance. You should have to have a public hearing, and that is how other localities have done that. I understand that that's not practical given the situation that we're in, but I just want to make that comment so that if there's another time when I say that, you don't think, well, you didn't say anything back in December.
Caroline County didn't do theirs that way either. They just voted theirs out. So, all right. Hearing none, let's take a roll call. Gene? Jeff? Valerie?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Randy? Arthur?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to trash service. What do y'all have on that?
Well, being that my name got put on this thing, it had come up for a couple months, and in discussing with my colleagues again, and then it ended up on here. I know that one of the things that had been asked a couple times was to see the contract. So I dug back to, I already forget which month I pulled it from. I feel like it might have been April. So I put it into a PDF and sent it back in so it could get included in the agenda tonight so that everybody could take a look. I'm definitely a proponent of having all that data there. So I enjoyed reading through it. It's the old Shiflets contract. But if you give me a second, since we can maybe have a discussion on this, I want to hand out a little thing I was working on earlier today.
Mr. Voigt, while you're doing that, can I say a couple things? So this is with Shiflets, but that's not the people that are currently picking it up. And usually there's something called like an attornment document. Usually there's something that gets sent out where the new company says, hey, you've got a contract with the old company. You agree to be bound by the same rules with respect to us. We don't really have anything like that. So that's just something to keep in mind when thinking about this issue. Thank you.
Not going to disagree with anything you said there, Andrea. This here is what we have, though. So I just wanted to put that out there. I gave you the other piece of paper because I didn't know where this conversation was going to go. But when I was looking up various things, this was something that jumped out at me, so I figured I'd tabulate for you. This is the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last 5 years of our adopted rates for trash pickup. Now, this is the bi-monthly rate, so the monthly would be calculated half that. On our contract here that we have in this, it's what, $13 for the first, and then $2.50 for the recycling, for a total of $15.50, which then constitutes the 31 that we have as our adopted rate. So if you look back, we haven't really raised the rates all that much. I look back a little further, but it was pretty much all around the same $30 mark. As you know, we've gone through several companies in the last couple of years. In the contract that you have in the packet, it does have in there after our first 2-year period with them, which is coming up now, there was like an automatic 2% increase. So when I did the projection for 23-24, I added 2%, and then I added another 2%. That's just to tell you where that we would be. It's more of a forward-thinking kind of thing, assuming that we engage with other companies and we get hearing back from them. This is what you want to take a look at, what we have. When we initially went with Shiflets, they were. Do you remember how much more expensive County Waste was at that time? It was like a pretty good amount.
I don't know if County Waste even bidded that time, because we messed them up on the first contract time around, and I don't think they even bidded.
We did have,
but we had one prior to that.
Yes, we did. Well, we did do an RFP at that time, and we did have multiple. We went with Shiflets because it was most affordable.
If they did come in higher, they came in higher for a reason. But see, Waste Management was also higher too.
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah, Waste Management, right. Yeah, I don't think County Waste bid this time for it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I had the wrong provider.
Okay.
But that was really the majority of the data that I was looking back on. Like that's the relevant data. 2015 is when the town went from twice a week to once a week. And even at that time, there was definitely I was looking back in the minutes, and folks came out to dislike that idea. But at that time, well, I wasn't going to say your name or anything. At that time, there was supposedly we were subsidizing the trash somewhat. So it was like the town was actually paying a portion, a fraction of the cost, and picking some of that up. But then ultimately, when the town went with who they went with at that time, it went over to once a week, and went with, I think in 2015, it was like exactly $30. And then as you see here, it didn't go up all that much more, but I can leave it at that. I just wanted to give you this data and kind of toss that out at you.
With those figures, Jeff, though, that was based on recycling and everything else, which was a little bit more expensive, but they're not recycling no more. So could we have anything as far as if they're not taking it to a recycling bin and they're still charging us an extra, say $2 a month for the customer to do the recycling and they're not doing it, is that something we can negotiate with them to remove that $2 if they're not going to do it?
Well, that's a little bit more of a legal question, but my reading of the contract, which, as she said, like, it's only holds so much. There's several ways that you can go about if you want to dissolve things in whole or in part. There's even parts in here where you can approach them and say, hey, I want to change the way we do our service. I'd like to renegotiate the rate. Like, there's a bunch of that stuff. I would encourage you to read through the whole contract, but, which parts they're bound to, I didn't have access to any other information, like what you were saying, but yeah, you go ahead.
And if I can tag team with you, I think, there are certainly the legal issues, and I'm comfortable navigating those. I think the bigger issue is who are you going to get? Because I think the options are not plentiful and that there are downsides to each contractor. Allison, do you want to talk about the history?
Right. Well, I looked up when this issue came up. I looked up County Waste, and they also have been purchased by GFL, taken over by GFL, and so it's my understanding there were more complaints with Waste Management than there are now. There's also, a process in place that if your trash, I realize there are some issues and they pick up trash really early and some people miss them. And if they don't come back for it, if it's too late, I had somebody who was out of town, it was too late. So Judy said she would just call and get them another trash receptacle for the week. And so there is a process in place if they don't pick up trash. So it is hard to try to find somebody if county waste is a problem, if Waste Management is a problem and now GFL is, then there's one other that I heard, two others that I heard about that I can find out if they can take a town our size. Also, the mayor and I were at a meeting at AP Hill, and they have started they do their own trash now. So there also is that option where we have a trash truck, we do our own trash, and and the mayor and vice mayor were with me at AP Hill, and so there's that option as well.
I was going to say, there's even an option of not doing it at all, which I'm not sure how we would monitor or how you would get that consensus, but that might be something that might be worth a discussion in the future.
As I was explaining to another council member earlier this week, the problem with that is that I have limited time to do code compliance anyway, and being that the lots are so close together, if you don't have trash pickup, somebody may think it's perfectly fine to accumulate trash for a couple weeks before they go to the dump, whereas their neighbors may not think that is acceptable at all. And so there's a lot of disputes because everyone have smaller lots. That is I'll get a lot more trash complaints of people accumulating trash.
That's the only reason I don't wholeheartedly try to get rid of it, to be honest. You know, the code, but you're so right. You'd be getting calls left and right. Maybe we can approach that in the future. Might be good, but and that's the dilemma. Who are you going to get that could provide better service if there's better service out there? At the same time, like if you're not getting adequate service, why are you paying for it in the first place? And so it's going to be a majority thing. Like, do I personally have issues with the trash? When we remember to put it out, no. They've been picking it up regularly for quite a while now. But I hear enough from others that they do that. And then me, myself, like I'd be fine. I have a truck. I can go, it's a mile away. So I'd be fine without the $30 charge every other month. But, I'll probably feel different about that in 30 years. So it's a hard question.
And I got a question for the town attorney. Is there any way that we can discuss with GFL, since they purchased Shiflets Waste in their contracts? Like, can we bring them in for an amendment to this and say, hey, like, I feel like that's long overdue because this has been going on for like 6 months. Be like, hey, this contract that we have states the company you purchased, and we need to, at minimal, update this contract with your company's name in it and get we should have their certificate of insurance. Like, I'm sure we don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
So
we can certainly do that. The way that I would recommend doing it is that we collectively come up with kind of what we want in it, and then either Allison or I would reach out to the company and negotiate it. Yeah.
And also, as far as with the recycle is only $2 and something cents per can after the regular trash. And you're right, at one time they weren't picking up. That was Shiflet was doing it, and then when they changed hands to GFL, they weren't doing it. But the management team, the staff there didn't change, so they were in the same rut. We have since got them, and they've been picking up recycle steadily here. So we're getting recycle and trash picked up. Where the recycle goes once it leaves here, who knows? We have no control over it. But, I guess we need to educate our folks out there to try to get your trash cans out the night before, because you don't know when they're coming in the morning. If you get it out the night before, you shouldn't have any problems. If you do have a problem, all they got to do is call Judy, write it down. They have been good about checking in, right, Judy? Yes. So they do check in when they're done, and she'll tell them if there's a problem. So if we get some information out to the folks, I know we sent that one thing out about how they collect the recycle, what to collect, what not to put in recycle. That makes a big difference. But if we can just let people know the night before, have your trash out. Because I know at one time they were coming at 3:15, 3:30 in the morning. And I think we stopped that, didn't we, Judy? Thank you very much for getting on that.
Well, it says it in the performance standards that they're not supposed to come prior to 7 a.m. I mean, the challenge is they're not following their own standards that they've given for us. My recycle and my trash is now back near my house because they didn't pick my trash up yesterday or Wednesday. So I still have it. Not big deal. I don't have a lot of trash. But if they're not following their own standards, I mean, there's something that we have to be able to do to hold them accountable. GFL.
Yeah, because they were coming early, and I got a few complaints on it. So, and I said, Judy, so she took care of it. But yeah, so if y'all want to talk amongst yourself, put something together and shoot it to Allison, and she'll collaborate it all and get with the attorney. But I do think we need to get something that from GFL, because everything is Shiflets. Like you say, their insurance and all that. We do need to get something on that to get it straightened out. All right, here, nothing else. Before we go convene into closed session, I would like to say we're about to lose 2 council members. This will be their last meetings with us. Deborah Howard will be leaving us. She will be dearly missed. Mrs. Gaines will be leaving us. She'll be dearly missed as well. I do like to commend both of them for their service on this council and their well inputs and their knowledge, and help guiding us and help us get this town going straight and a good forward path. So you will be missed. Thank you very much for your service. All right. Who wants to make the motion to go into closed session, please?
Is there a motion to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 for the discussion or consideration of the performance of 3 specific employees, and pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring advice, employment law.
Do I have a motion? Who's making it first?
I'll make the motion.
All right, you got Randy first that motion.
I'll second.
Arthur is second. Take a roll call. Gene? Jeff? Valerie?
Yes.
Deborah? Arthur? Randy?
Yes.
Arthur?
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session. We will take a couple minutes recess while we clear everybody out.